right, MMA Weeklies, the lowdown. We're here, Jake Hatton and Scott Peterson with you guys. Jake, have you seen that movie Avengers yet?
I have not.
Well,
but
good.
I did see John Wick.
Oh, you're one up on me. Okay, so we're just to warn you, we're going to have some Avengers spoilers here. If you haven't seen it in 2 weeks, well then screw you. I'm just kidding. No spoilers. But I don't know. When you're with your lady, my wife does this weird thing where we're watching a movie and she's like, what did they say? What are they going to do? What's happening? It's like, I don't know, honey. I'm just watching this the same time you are, and she keeps talking during the show. It's like so when I go see John Wick, I'm going to read the book beforehand so I can answer her questions of what's going to happen.
There you go.
But the spoiler for so we're watching this Avengers thing, and she goes, honey, why doesn't Superman come help them out?
She's got a point.
She's got a point. Where's Superman and Batman? I don't know. They're taking the day off. So anyway, guys, we have some follow-up news from Tuesday. Anderson Silva reveals struggles as he questions his UFC future. Now, Jake, he put out that awesome tweet where he's talking about being that lion and surrounded by the hyenas, and he will fight to the death. And well, look at this. You can see he put out this huge post, and now it seems like he mentions here, I'm questioning whether I should or not keep training, dedicating myself, overcoming injuries, pain, etc. I ask myself always, is the love that I feel for my sport consuming my mind and my body to the point I can no longer continue? So, I don't know.
Well, we already have conflicting stories here, and let's be honest. I have my ups and downs. I mean, there's some weeks where all I want to do is go train and fight, and then other weeks where you're just enjoying living life, having a beer, eating some birthday cake. You know, Anderson's done so much in his career. The thing is some of these guys, they don't have an identity without fighting, and that's hard for them. You see a lot of actors, actresses that they're so used to being in the limelight. Again, I'm a big Anderson Silva fan, and I'd like to see him go out as one of the GOATs.
Right.
And I said at the last podcast, maybe go out in July, talk to the UFC, do a ceremony, and be inducted in the Hall of Fame during that International Fight Week. That's what he deserves.
Yeah, I like that idea, as mentioned before. Also, Anthony Rumble Johnson pleads not guilty in domestic battery case. His lawyer came out and made a statement that I found interesting, courtesy of MMA Junkie. Anthony Johnson, if he hits you, your grandkids are going to feel it. He's trying to de-escalate her verbal argument, so he simply picks her up gently and puts her, of course, this is his lawyer, gently, the gentle football carry. So he simply picks her up gently and puts her down. He simply did not want to argue anymore and put her in another room. That happens every day in America in domestic relationships. It might be a domestic dispute, but it's not domestic violence. I can't remember the last time my wife picked me up, but she has tried. She has tried. Honey, if you're watching, stop it.
Yeah. Here's my issue with this, and I don't want to get into it too deep, and because he wasn't convicted, but if that's a really bad argument, because as a fighter, you can also control your power of how hard you want to hit somebody. And do you think he's 300 pounds?
Well, nobody apparently was hit. I mean, that was the carry, the football carry.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that one alone.
Anyway, we weren't there. On to the next thing. On to the next. Man, we just keep on going down. Who picked these stories? They're bummers. Except He's doing better.
This is a good story. This is a good story.
Okay, good story, because he's doing better. Alexander Volkanovski improving, but remains in the hospital in Chile. So, man, I mean, the blood poisoning must have been serious for him to still be there. And apparently, from within here, says, as a precaution, he will remain under supervision at the hospital and will be reassessed in 48 hours to ensure the infection is completely under control before given any clearance to travel home. I read this.
This kind of explains why they gave Frankie the fight before him, just because probably the uncertainty. I think this might have been a little more serious than what they were letting on.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. Again, we'll see Volkanovski circle back and fight the winner of Holloway and Edgar.
Yeah, and it does seem that way, that it must have been more serious than previously mentioned. Also, guys, listening, we are a call-in show. So, the number we're putting up, 702-799-9984. Feel free to call in, give your voice out, shout out on what we're talking about. Daniel Cormier, Stipe rematch. This one's going to break him. The cordial relationship between heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier and former champion Stipe Miocic is apparently finished. While coaching against each other on The Ultimate Fighter, as well as the lead-up to their last fight this past July, Cormier and Miocic were essentially friends all the way up to stepping into the octagon to do battle. Apparently, things have changed. Stipe can say, this is Cormier, Stipe can say, oh, he's an idiot and he's this and he's that, but then I get to just kick his ass again. Ultimately, I had the last laugh in the whole thing with me and Stipe, and I get to do it again. That's kind of how that thing plays out. He said on the Talker podcast. We're fighters, we're a different breed. Like right away, I'm like, Stipe, you son of a boop, but I like it. I'm a grown man saying boop. That kind of, I don't know, doesn't fit. Like it all, though, because first time he's all chummy and he's all quiet and he doesn't want to build a fight. At least now he's being vocal about how he feels. Be vocal. Tell me how you feel. Tell me how much you want to kick my ass so that I can kick your ass again. Then you're in like a dark room and you're done. He gets a little mean there.
Well, he needs to. And the issue with Stipe is he just does not market himself great. He's just one of those quiet guys that wants to do his job. And unfortunately, with this day and age in the fight world, if you're not putting yourself on the map and marketing yourself, it's a tough road. So I think DC probably loves this and loves a little bit of the drama, because guess what? He's got those pay-per-view points, and the bigger they sell this fight, the more money they make. So he's going from Brock, which would have been massive, to this one, which is, this is the fight that needs to happen.
Yeah, and to me, this is more of to me, this fight's way more important than the Lesnar fight. Yeah, he would have made more money, but it's
not a payday fight.
Right. This tells you unequivocally that he deserves to be where he is, if there are any doubters out there, if he wins this fight. So, but Stipe just doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's doing this to get pay-per-view numbers up, to build a fight. He just seems like the kind of guy that just speaks what's on his mind, no nonsense kind of a guy. I don't see this as Stipe's trying to build a fight. I don't know. There's probably some resentment that he hasn't fought for so long, that he's had to wait and he wasn't the first choice. I think some of these things are probably things that come into play with Stipe.
Oh, no doubt about it. I think if I was Stipe, I'd be a little hot. I mean, he had the longest winning streak in UFC heavyweight history. He's done what no other fighter's done. So has he earned that? Has he earned that spot? Absolutely, yes. And when you're trying to put, Brock in, a very low ranked just for a payday, I'd have a little heartburn myself. But if I was DC, I would do the same thing myself. I'd be wanting to fight Brock for that big payday.
Yeah, and when DC says something, I mean, DC is one that he likes to play things up. I mean, look at the fight that he had with Patrick Cummins. his teammate. If that wasn't playing something up, I don't know what was. But we're gonna get to the Deontay Wilder situation here soon. But we got a caller. Who do we got on the line?
Hi, this is Jen. I'm from California.
Hey, Jen. We're about to we've been talking about Stipe, Miocic, starting to get into the trash talk. We're about to touch on Deontay Wilder's comments. And what are some of the things what did you want to shout out on?
I wanted to comment on something else. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah. Go right ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about how pro fighters can act as role models.
All right.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think fighters should be looked at as role models?
Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, I feel they should, because they have, thousands if not millions of fans who follow them and find inspiration in them. And in order to even gain a title as a pro athlete or even a pro fighter, it takes a lot of hard work, dedication, time, and effort, to gain that title. And once you get there, it's all worth it. You're making millions, and you can inspire others, like your fans and your followers, to follow their dreams. So absolutely, I feel like, athletes can definitely act as a role model.
So you probably, heard that just came out in the news, Deontay Wilder. He said some things, some threats, and we're going to play the audio here, where he talks like this is the only sport where you can kill a man, and he makes some kind of crazy comments. Do you see it as a fighter's? You do see it as a fighter's responsibility to be a role model?
You know what? In this country, you're free to express yourself, but you should always be on good behavior. For your fans and your followers, and for children out there who are watching you as well. So, if he's making comments or saying something negative, it definitely affects your followers and your fans.
So Jen, do you have kids?
Oh yes, I have two little ones. I love them so much.
So
and I always want to inspire them to do well in life, and I always want positivity in their life.
So I don't know if they're old enough to follow fighting, but if they are not, would you encourage them to look at a fighter as a role model? I guess obviously depending on the fighter.
Well, I want my kids to follow their dreams. So, for instance, I have a son, and if he wants to go into MMA and he loves fighting, I would encourage them. Yes, absolutely. Whatever makes them happy, but I would want like a positive figure in his life.
All right.
Or a positive figure, someone he can follow who makes a positive influence.
All right, Jen. Thank you so much for calling in. So that kind of with
leads us into our next subject.
Yeah, here. Deontay Wilder. I want to play this here. He was recently doing a press scrum and said some kind of crazy stuff. Here we go.
Brutal sport. This is not a gentleman's sport. I keep saying this is not a gentleman's sport. We don't ask to hit each other in the face, but we does anyway. And you can ask any doctor around the world, and he'll tell you the head is not meant to be hit. Anybody can go. And on this particular time, we have bad blood against each other. This is the only sport where you can kill a man and get paid for it at the same time. It's legal. So why not use my right to do so?
But some people will say that.
So pretty crazy. This is the only sport where you can kill a man, and what are your initial thoughts on that, Jake?
Well, I think let's address this. Are athletes role models or entertainers? Because there's a big difference here. And look, he's got the right to say whatever he wants, but in my opinion, I'd like to see all these guys be a role model. I'd like to see them say the right things. Like last caller Jen said, I'd like to see them inspire. They've got this, they've got this power that they're given, and what do they choose to do with it? That's the question. Are they role models or are they entertainers?
Yeah, he also Deontay also mentions body bags needing a body for the count of sorts. And it's interesting because we had just recently the big hubbub over Conor, Khabib's trash talk outside of the ring, which led obviously to the brawl that happened at UFC 229, and the Nevada State Athletic Commission even threatening to start taking action against trash talk, hate speech, or whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, first of all, it's being looked at seriously. But do you think this is something that that is to that level of that we need a regulatory body to control it?
I don't. You've got to let fighters be fighters. These guys aren't. I mean, there's a lot of brilliant fighters out there, but they're entertainers, and that's what they're doing. They're here to entertain, and sometimes they're going to slip up, and sometimes emotions get involved, and too much testosterone, and they're going to say things that sometimes they'll probably look back later and say, "Shit, maybe I shouldn't have said that." But it happens.
Isn't this though also part of what the fans want? Now I know the caller Jan said she wants somebody that can be a role model, but I don't know. I mean, these guys come. I don't know if that responsibility should be on their shoulders for that. I know that in a way that there's a responsibility in society for a decorum of sorts, but they're showing up. They're doing their job.
Well, being a role model is not an elected position. It's an elected position. It's not appointed. So you have the ability once you have that power, and it's what you decide to do with it afterwards. Do you want to do good with it, or do you want to do, bad, if you will? I mean, there's all kinds of people that we look up to that say crazy things. I mean, look at the Diaz brothers. Huge fan of those guys, but they're thugs, and they're happy about that. They call themselves that,
and their fans relish in it. Their fans love it.
Fans. Yep. So I mean, it's hard to say, what's right and what's wrong. I mean, we are in a sport of. I guess you just don't want to hear them cross a line, which Wilder might have a little bit, but I'm excited to see the fight. I'm not going to lie.
We got a caller on the line. Who do we got?
This is Bob from Colorado.
Hey, Bob. So what did you want to shout out on today?
Well, you guys are talking about role models, athletes being role models and whatnot and everything. And, when you look at it, unfortunately, you got the group that I think crossed the line. Like, I think his comments were way beyond what is necessary. And then you got the great athletes that are the great role models that do a lot for the community. They do a lot for charities. They do a lot. And you hear about that, but you sure as hell don't hear as much about that as you do the other. And to me, that is just, stupid that it's that way. And I think if a youngster or a child or someone like that is brought up right and they know the difference between good role models and bad role models, they'll be able to pick out on their own which athletes that they look up to as role models and the ones that they don't want to look up to as role models as being a bad influence and not being the type of person that they want to follow or be like. All
right. Well, good point. And like you said, there's not only one kind of role model. There's good and bad role models, and it's basically. And thanks for calling in, Bob. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think everybody in society has a responsibility of sorts, but you know, it's a free country. It's a free country.
But yeah, you should. But Bob brought up a great point, and it's your parents' responsibility. It starts with that. It's it's a parent's responsibility to show you what right and wrong. And if they grow up, you're a product of your environment. And if you grow up in idolizing in the streets, you might idolize. I had a lot of people I looked up to when I was young. Maybe the neighborhood guy that went out and scrapped all the time that I thought was really cool. That he really wasn't at all. But when you're young and impressionable, that's what you look at. But I also had a really good parent.
Who was yours? Mine was David that lived across the street. He was like maybe 4 or 5 years older than me, and he knew karate. And he liked the Miami Dolphins, so I liked the Miami Dolphins. He got me in trouble, though, when he said something about to say to my babysitter, and I said it, and I got spanked for saying it afterwards. But he showed me how to. He threw me over his back because he knew the karate flip. I looked up to old David, but yeah, he didn't turn out to be the karate badass in the future. And neither did I.
We all have those guys. Bob brought up a good point. Bob brought up a good point. We as a society, we tend to relate to the negative. For instance, if somebody calls up or you're talking to somebody on the phone and you tell them, yeah, I just won the lottery and I've got a hot girlfriend and I've got a ton of money and I just bought a new car. People are like, hey, cool story, bro. But then in the same one, if you say, oh man, my dog died, my girlfriend left, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, are you okay? So a lot of people tend to relate to the negative, which is unfortunate, but and there are a lot of great guys like J.J. Watt, Man of the Year, raising, I think, $50+ million, for hurricane relief. Drew Brees, some of these NFL guys, they've done some great work. I mean, there's some amazing athletes out there, but unfortunately, this is what sells.
Now, when it comes to, some people get some hate speech and stuff confused of what is and what isn't protected by the Constitution. And since we live in America, the UFC's in America, this boxing event's in America, we're going to refer to the United States Constitution. Oh, we got a call here. Whenever we get a call, we got to bring them on. Who do we got on the line? Oh.
Just kidding.
You know what? I am. Hold on 1 second, buddy. We couldn't hear you. Who do I got on the line?
On Sunday, there was a charge of $276 for a hotel room. Did you authorize that purchase? Hello?
I don't know who is on the line.
Got a little bit of a prank call there, unless you authorize it.
Yes. I think that might have been our first prank call.
I love it.
Hey, so what I was saying, you got different kinds of speech, and some are protected, some are not protected. Libel's not protected, obscenity's not protected. Calls to lawless action. If you're like out there going, hey, we need you to come and I need somebody to help me rob this bank. That's not protected. And fighting words that are a call to violence. So that's my question is what Deontay said here. Were these fighting words a call to violence, or are they just, I think it would be, you'd be stretching it to be able to be saying that. I mean, people can be pissed or like think it's irresponsible, maybe in the direction of things he said, but I just don't see it really necessarily going that far.
No, I don't really have a huge problem with it. I mean, was it a little across the line? Yeah, but we get that all the time. He's going to go in there, box. They're going to high five afterwards, give each other a hug, and move on. I think it's just selling the fights and him flexing a little bit. Again, I don't have a huge problem with it.
Right. Well, I just wanted to play this real quick. This was just a couple months ago, and this was the Nevada State Athletic Commission. It was brought up. This was during the Conor versus Khabib thing, and this is what was said there in concerns to the trash talk that was going on.
Action against an unarmed combatant in either boxing, MMA, or any other unarmed combat sport as it pertains to what they have said versus what they have done.
I'm not personally aware, Mr. Chairman.
Executive Director Bennett.
Chairman, no, I'm not aware of any, but I certainly think it's gotten to the point with some of the unarmed combatants where it's become totally unacceptable. There's not any other athletes that I'm aware of that have spoken in various press conferences in the way Mr. McGregor has. So although we have no precedence for it, I think it's something that we should look to in the future, and we should rein it in. His press conference at the Radio City Music Hall was obviously under the jurisdiction of the New York Athletic Commission. The one that took place here, his language was much cleaner, and I didn't see any reason to add that to the settlement agreement.
All right, well, there's guys on the other end of the line that would like to control what's said. And so I think we got to be careful in what we wish for with speech, controlling speech and whatnot. And
let the fighters.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, let the fighters be fighters. I mean, if they cross the line outside of the ring, I get there's punishment. But look, trash talking's been going on since Muhammad Ali. I mean, it goes way back.
All right, my man. Well, you guys, Thursday night edition is over, and we will be back next Tuesday. Also, this weekend, the Fight Night call-in show for the fights on Saturday. Tune into that, and thanks for tuning in to The Lowdown.